When we look at any sort of diplomatic work or international work, there is almost no activity which is analog anymore. If you talk to embassies and people on the ground, well, actually, all of them use email, none of them use the typing machine anymore. And in that sense, the data, which is increasingly being digitalized, is stored somewhere. There is increased risk of breaches. And as we also showed in some examples here at the conference, it is quite easy to penetrate into someone's computer or a mobile phone. The tools that are needed for that are available globally. They are free of charge even. They're produced in such a way that almost any one of us, without much in-depth knowledge, can use it, much like any other software. The main question is, how do you actually penetrate into the system? And in that sense, 90% of all the attacks are based on the human error. So we users are the ones who make the errors, whether it's by opening an email and clicking to the link which might be infected without checking, opening an attachment which might be infected, visiting a website which might be corrupted, setting up an application on the mobile phone which is not trusted, might have a vulnerability. If we learn how to behave better, how to do more of the digital hygiene, we will be more secure. But once a hacker or anyone else gets into the system, he or she can really do whatever, start the camera, grab all the files, spy without you knowing, communicate with others, sending messages without even noticing that we have been corrupted. The problem with big systems such as ministries or international organizations is they have particularly sensitive files. And in that sense, the intention or the willingness of a third party to enter the system is increasing. And the resources that a third party is going to invest in getting into a system is increasing, the knowledge, the funds, and so on. So that means that the level of protection or level of prevention needs to be even higher. And unfortunately, not many of the, state institutions and also international institutions are thinking enough about securing data. When it comes to the field operations, it even goes beyond. Because in field operations, there might be some quite sensitive information, intelligence gathered around, and mediation process intelligence gathered around. There is a huge interest of various parties to get to those data. And in these sort of rush moments where we might need a mobile phone to check an email, communicate with someone, we might easily make a mistake. We might use a Gmail account instead of official one, which might be protected. We might disregard it to check where the validity of a message or who is sending and so on. And these are particularly risky situations. And I guess the training is the only thing that you can actually help people get bigger attention, be more cautious when they're acting online. Once we make a mistake by clicking on a malicious link or opening an infected file without checking, the malware can be in our system without us knowing it actually. And the malware can actually do whatever the attacker wants. It can search through our files, recover all of our passwords, capture our keystrokes, switch on the camera, the microphone, which we don't know, send messages, communicate with the others, even make a phone call, if it is a phone, in case that we might not even be aware of. So once the intruder is in the system, there is no such encryption that can help us in most cases, because they will capture all the communication even before it gets encrypted. What can we do? Well, basically, firstly, as we said, the awareness of and the basic steps of staying safe and having some safe practice of working online without being in the risk of being infected. In most cases, if we are infected, we are not going to know that. That's the worst thing, because the intruder, particularly in context of diplomacy, they don't want you to know. So unfortunately, in most cases, you only discover that someone is in your system. There is some average in companies over 200 days, 250 days, that you actually discover that someone is in your system. In 200 days, all the files are gone. There are no secrets anymore. You have everything out. So that's the biggest risk. Of course, big systems might have more advanced software, which continuously scan through the systems, try to find the anomalies in flow of the traffic and so on. There are advanced solutions now which cost, but most serious companies now try to invest that in institutions to be able to discover when there is a breach. But as a user, in most cases you wouldn't even know. What is useful as a sort of tactic, if you wish, is that even if you click or open something you're not sure about, and you suspect that it might be something that triggered the infection, it's always useful to at least tell it to your IT department or the supervisors, because it's much less of damage if you tell it the sooner than the later. And then you learn from the mistakes, we all learn. And then one of the examples, or one of the best cases that we usually suggest, if you really have something sensitive, leave the phone away, leave the computer away, try to do it in vivo. It is a bit paradoxal. We're getting back to the face-to-face communication, analog communication, but in some cases it might be needed.